Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right. That's good.
Am I the only one here?
Right now you are, yes, because I had to restart my computer. In fact, I was right in the middle of like resetting everything up. But yeah, I had to restart my computer because it was acting kind of weird. So you are.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because I did join a little bit earlier
Mhm.
and it said wait, so maybe that's what you were doing.
Right. Yeah, so while I am just getting the last few things set up here,
Okay,
um
cool.
yeah, how have you been? How is, as they say,
Uh,
how's it treating you, as they say?
Pretty good. I think I had mentioned that I'm an accountant for a health clinic,
Mhm.
so I still pretty much have to go to work every day. So I'm kind of, I shouldn't say jealous, but when people are like, oh, I've cleaned out my closet and I've done all this. And
Right.
I'm like, man, I wish I had time to do that.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, I'm glad I have a job.
right. I can definitely understand that. In fact, I mean that makes me just think about like the interesting dichotomy, if you will, of this equation is that, there's some pros to it and there's some cons to it. Um
Hmm.
and yeah, it definitely has an impact on everybody in some way, and so I understand what you're saying. Have your hours stayed the same, or have your hours like increased, or?
They actually have got more flexible because since part of the clinic, I work at basically what's called a federally qualified health care center.
Okay.
So it's like in the Black community,
Okay.
but now it serves like immigrants, Burmese, Thai.
Hmm.
So, and with the schools shutting down, they had a lot of school-based clinics.
Okay.
So that part of it is slowed up. So that means our hours are a little more flexible, but we're still supposed to, like, if we work from home, we still have to be like logged in and working.
Right, at the clock the same.
But you can kind of like go in whenever you want to now.
Okay, got you. So it is a little bit more flexible that way. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
What about you?
yeah, just in general, I've been very well. I've been adjusting by just continuing to go insular, if you will, and just kind of, I guess you could say, like, work on different parts of myself or do different kind of activities that I wouldn't have done before. I've gotten creative.
Hmm.
I've gotten really creative during this time, and yeah, I've been definitely finding that I've been taking some new joy in things like walking, things like, being outside. Definitely, like, okay, so one thing is that, like, I've been my gym now is not at the YMCA. Now my gym is outside at Druid Hill Park. You know,
Right.
so that, and so that's been really interesting because now since I've been doing that, it like I feel at home now. I realized the other day I was like, wow, when I go back to my gym, well, first of all, I'm probably going to keep this in my schedule, like, because now I've have a
Hmm.
new relationship with outdoors, and I've had a number of people that have come up to me and have been inspired just by me out there. So I'm like, they were coming back during this time. Um, really was grateful for that, because the way they put it, they're gonna be going even deeper as far as some of the amenities and that kind of thing. So I've taken it in stride. The real cons of the feeling of isolation at times, um, but balance that out.
Ah,
Yeah, but balance that out with doing things in a way where I've just kind of feel appreciation, in things in life. So yeah, thank you for.
dang. So do you live by yourself or do your kids?
Yeah,
Did you say you lived with your dad?
yeah. So I actually live with my dad. So it's just me and my dad, and yeah, my dad has pretty much been in quarantine before the quarantine, because he just kind of chills out and listens to his music, and just kind of.
Oh man.
But he's, for years he was like a really, really super outgoing person. So he's 75 now. So he's like, yeah, I'm kicking back now and just enjoying my time.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
my mom lives by herself.
Mhm.
Oops, I'm sounding loud. My mom lives by herself in Nashville because
Okay.
I'm originally from Tennessee.
Oh.
And man, she's one of the people that wants stuff to hurry up and open up.
Mm,
Because even though she's in her 70s, she sings in the choir
okay.
and she dances with like some kind of Nashville line dance group.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I don't even know. I hope she's doing social distancing, but
Yeah.
she's like one of those people who you're like, just slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
This is serious.
Right.
So
Right.
she and I almost got into like a heated discussion the
Right.
day before Mother's Day because
Uh,
I was like, stuff needs to stay closed up, and she disagreed
right.
totally.
Right. Yeah, I definitely understand. It's funny you just said that. I just finished having a conversation a few minutes ago with someone who they were saying the same thing to their mom, and it was almost like the tables had turned, where in fact
Yeah.
someone was telling me the other day about a little. I think my mother might have I don't know if it was my mother. Somebody was telling me about it, where they saw like a little play off of it, where there was like this whole parody of a child like telling their parent like to stay indoors, but it was like talking like how parent and kid would be talking, and they were like
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
yeah,
But right.
they were like they had to punish their own parents and that kind of thing. Like, you're not going. Where are you going, Missy? But I mean, that's what it is. We're all trying to really just feel our way through this and just figure it out. And sometimes I think about it though, because on one side, and I think about this every day with myself, we do have to be safe. But then
Hmm.
on the flip side, it's almost like we have to be safe and sane in both ways. So we have to be,
Right.
sane by being safe. But at the same time, if we live too much in fear, then it really takes away from the overall quality of our life. So the thing with this is just
Right.
it's so hard to predict. It'd be different if we could really quantify it and we could really point it out and just say, yeah, just don't go here and don't go there and don't go to near this person, that person. Then it would be a little bit better to quantify. But since we can't, that is the thing that makes it a bit tricky.
Right.
So I feel you. Actually, I forgot to go live on Facebook. Hey, Andy. Andy is in the building. So you're sideways.
Hello.
your your picture is sideways.
Sideways. I'm like that. I know what it is.
Or
Whenever I want to, it's weird. Like sometimes I do
Oh, that's good.
it, and then sometimes I do the portrait. There we go. I don't think I'm sideways anymore. But for whatever reason, and IG, it'll turn me.
right. So cool.
How is everyone?
All right. I was just about to ask, how are you doing?
Hey,
Good.
good.
Sweet. Sweet. So my computer has been acting a bit slow. So I was trying to get everything back up and running. Right now I'm actually trying to push the stream to Facebook, and yeah, but while I'm doing this, we can just kind of hang and talk for a few. How you doing this morning? Oh, this afternoon. I'm saying morning. How you doing this afternoon, Andy?
I'm well. Thank you.
Sweet.
How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Sherry and I were just up here talking about just how we're doing during this time. Just coping with everything, taking it one day at a time, figuring it out, being safe while still living, you know.
Yeah.
It's always
And I week, but just the ebb and flow of life, and you know, especially like around the yoga. As it relates to yoga, people are always like, oh, I want to get flexible and I want to be able to put my foot behind my head or whatever have you. But really, it's flexibility and not just the body. The body is a mirror of the flexibility of the mind and spirit. And so during this time, people are really learning to be more flexible and kind of go with the flow. And not that it's always easy, but you know, kind of that up and down, learning how to surf, right? Yeah.
So is
that's the ability right there. That's the living.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting you said that that it's not easy, because as soon as you said that, I thought about something immediately, which is like, and this kind of goes with a number of things in life. You know, it's not easy, but it's necessary. You know, it's not always easy, but it's necessary, and it's life. You know, and that's the one thing I was just actually having a conversation with someone who like is a part of the and you can relate to this, being a part of the education field, who's a teacher, and just looking at how everything now is not only going virtual,
called you to try to find James's.
a bit
She was trying to
a Bitmoji classroom in order to, you know, work with like the new model. And so, and it was really cool because it made like the classroom very like interactive. I mean, people overnight are becoming content creators. People overnight are becoming like experts at new things, you know, that they weren't before. And it's just all due to the necessary adjustments that need to be made to deal with something like this, you know?
Yeah, because it is, and everyone's like, oh, I'm excited about going back to normal. And I'm like, well, the normal really is all relative. And the normal is really, I feel like this quote unquote new normal is really people's ability to be in the moment.
Yeah. Right.
So, you know, it's not going to be the way it was, because it can't be, because that was already done. That's over.
Right.
It never be the way it was. So you're right. Like, you have to adjust, and I'm patient and moving things to a more virtual. How do we do that while still maintaining active engagement with our children? How do we reconnect with parents and help them understand that they are their children's first and foremost teachers,
Right.
And responsibility? But it's something that we've always known, but we have, you know, I feel like a lot of parents have kind of relinquished their power and responsibility in a lot of ways, by saying, you know what, here, you take care of my child for this 6 to 7 hours during this. And then we have this idea that there's been, we're like, oh, teachers, it's the teacher's responsibility. No, it all starts in the family. So now we're seeing families who are now going to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they don't homeschool their children fully, they're going to partially homeschool their child, because their child may not be able to even go into the school building 5 days a week the way it used to be. So now it's all right, how do we come back together as a collective, as a community, and support each other as parents, and support each other, support our children with what they need, because and reclaim that power that we have. Mm-hmm. Because we do have everything that our children need.
It shows the old adage, it takes a village, you know. And so I am excited myself about education. I am definitely excited. Sorry, let me change the video. Okay, there we go. I'm definitely excited about education. I'm excited about like the direction that things are going in. There's never a going back to the norm, because evolution moves one way. you know, and that way is moving forward. So it's almost like in some ways with this crisis, we're being forced to be ourselves. You know, we're being forced to, you know, one of the things that Aria said today that was really inspiring to me, as I was hanging out with the baby girl. We're playing and we're throwing the frisbee, and there's some people that walk by, and she stopped for a second. We said hello to them, and they were like, "Yeah, this is one of the most fun games ever." You know, they were like, "Yeah, you're playing one of the most fun games ever." I used to love frisbee. So, yeah. And Aria was like, "You know, Dad, a lot of people have been really like much more nice during this quarantine time. You know, and we talked about that for a second. You know, we talked about how, like, yeah, people are being forced in a good way to develop empathy, to see their fellow human being in a different way. I mean, I put up the other day, I'm my brother and sister's keeper. It's like when you see other people as more deeply like yourselves and vulnerable to the same things that you are, you naturally have, you know, more empathy for them. Probably not the mood. You naturally have more empathy for them. So, you know, with that, it's just like, I'm like, yeah, this is what it's developing in us, is developing like a new sense of awareness. So it's something that I think about regularly. Sorry, y'all, for the wardrobe.
Okay, I'm gonna fix my chair.
Something that I find interesting, and for my daughter to see it, and for her to be like, Dad, I noticed a difference in people. Like, it let me know.
Yeah. Yep. You know, it's funny. Like, I have always been a huge X-Men fan. Like, when I was a kid, like, X-Men was one of my favorite cartoons. And then, like, this past week, I've been watching X-Men movies again. And I love it. I do. Like, I've always, like this, I don't know, maybe it was just something inside of me as a child that was just like, oh my gosh, we have this untapped power that we don't use, and like all of us could be X-Men, right? And so it was really interesting. I always loved I was watching the original movie that came out, the first movie, and it was talking about evolution, how like every millennia, the universe catapults us into this new understanding and this new world. And those who are able to adapt, and those who don't. And so I kind of have been like, man, like, as we look at certain things that have happened throughout history, I always feel like those are those universal pushes that are pushing us forward to a time that is more conducive to our growth and wellness and our health. Even though in that moment we don't necessarily understand why or how, but those of us who just kind of flow the way it's going to flow, we figure it out, and it always ends up being okay. So I don't know, y'all, maybe we're in that, we're all X-Men, so we
can, yeah, because you know what it comes down. Yeah, it's like what it comes down to is that we're always X-Men. It's always the journey. It's always the push forward. It's always that. There's just, as they say, there's just levels to this, all right? And so right now, you know, we're just in a place where it's calling for a particular kind of level from us in order to adapt, in order to move through, and not just move through, but move through in a good way. So yeah, well, with that, I usually would have some music queued up, but my computer's acting really weird here, so we'll see if it looks like, okay, it's loading up now. So I want to welcome everyone to the 5M Fellowship, and right now we got some people that are watching on Facebook too. So I want to say hello to all the people out there in Facebook land, and yeah, so 5M. The 5Ms are music, movement, mindfulness, meditation, and mantra. And I'm always excited to have this experience. So I'm excited about today. So at this time, I'm actually going to turn it over to Andy Pyatt to go ahead and lead us in a bit of breathing and stretching. We get to the movement part of this experience, and the goal is to loosen up, limber up, and just kind of relax in that way. So, Andy, take it away.
Thank you, Aaron. So today I have been chilling in my really beautiful indoor jungle space this weekend. So my normal chair, I moved out of this space, and so I'm sitting on the floor doing my yoga, doing this movement portion today. So, however, everything that we're going to do, if you are sitting in your chair, you would be just fine sitting in your chair. So I will also kind of give you some cues to as you are sitting, but just keep in mind I'm sitting, but I'm sitting in Sukhasana on the floor today. So, but if you want to sit on the floor, feel free. And if you are sitting on the floor and you need some support, sometimes cross leg or Sukhasana is something that some folks are having to work up to if you have tight hips and knees. But if you have like a pillow, or if you have a towel that you can roll and kind of make a log, you can sit on that and sit your bottom on the edge of it, or the edge of a pillow, or if you have a bolster, like I have one of these Hugger Mugger bolsters, you can sit on that. And it will help to tilt your pelvis forward and open up your hips a little bit more and make it more comfortable. However, if you are sitting in your chair, or wherever you may be at this moment, take a moment to plant your feet, the soles of your feet, firmly on the floor, and come to a comfortable and safe position on your chair. So you don't want to be all the way back in the chair, and you don't want to be all the way forward. Just somewhere where you can kind of feel like your hips, your sits bones are firmly grounded and rooted. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to get adjusted. Just begin to breathe, or continue to breathe. Don't force anything. Just gonna connect to our bodies, our mind, and our breath. Take note of how you are breathing. Are you breathing in your chest? Maybe more in your belly or your diaphragmatic area? Is your breathing slow? Is it deep? Is it short and shallow? Take a moment to send gratitude to your body, breath. On the next inhale, bring attention to your belly and allow it to move forward. And on the next exhale, allow your belly to move towards your spine. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring attention to your breath once again. Does it feel different? Different parts of your body feel a little different. With your hips firmly rooted in your space, your chair, or on the floor, you can gently open your eyes if you have your eyes closed. And take a moment to move the corners of your mouth towards your ears. Yes, and a smile. So you are stretching and moving all those facial muscles as well. Inhale, and as you exhale, draw your left ear towards your left shoulder. Exhale. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, right ear to right shoulder. Like all those muscles in your neck. Send your breath. Your neck feels a little tight. Inhale. On the next exhale, imagine all of those little muscles in your neck relaxing. Inhale, come back to center. Inhale. Exhale, draw your chin to your chest. Feel the muscles in the back of your neck and in the top of your back open. Inhale, return to center. Inhale and exhale, chin towards the ceiling or the sky if maybe you're outside. And feel a deep stretch all in the front part of your neck and your chest. And return to center. Bring your chin to your chest. Rotate your ear to your left ear to your left shoulder. Chin to the sky. Right ear to right shoulder. And back around again. Inhale, roll your ear towards your right ear towards your right shoulder. And chin towards the sky. Left ear towards left shoulder. And chin to chest. Inhale and come back to center. extend your right arm over towards your fingertips, over towards the right. Flip your palm towards the sky. And move your fingertips towards the left side. And round the back, coming forward. And back up to center. Left fingertips to the left side. Now, palm flips up towards the sky. Fingertips towards the right. And roll back to center. And back again. So we're going to do that one more time on either side. Yeah, right? Extend your right fingertips towards the right side. Flip your palm and fingertips towards the left. Really keep it. And if you're sitting on the floor, take note of your hip, keeping that right hip firmly on the ground. And roll, coming back up. So you want to keep that hip down, even if you're sitting in your chair, so that you really get that good stretch on the respective side body. So you're really getting that stretch from your fingertips all the way down through your hips. So extending the left fingertips. It doesn't matter if I'm on virtual or teaching a class, I'm always getting my left and right mixed up. I swear I know my left and right. Fingertips towards the left side, palm flips up. And now fingertips towards the right. And round your back, chin coming forward, head coming forward, and back to center. Bring your shoulders now towards your earlobes and roll them forward. And up towards your earlobes and roll them back. One more time, up towards your earlobe. Roll them forward. Up towards your earlobes and roll them back. If you are on your chair, make sure you are solid, because next we're going to extend our legs out. And if you're sitting, extend your legs out so your body and your torso and your legs are making like a 90-degree angle. It's going to be more like a 45-degree angle if you are sitting on your chair. So just be mindful of that. Make sure that wherever you're sitting, you just feel like you are firm and solid and connected and rooted, that you're not wobbly in the chair. Extend the arms out, up to Urdhva Hastasana, fold forward, reaching for your knees or your calves or your toes, wherever you are. Tucking your chin towards your chest, protecting your neck, and roll back up, and shoulders roll down. One more time, arms to a T, and fingertips point up, palms face out, Urdhva Hastasana. Draw those shoulders down away from the ears, and forward fold towards your knees, your calves, your toes, wherever you're sitting. Tuck your chin in and roll forward. Roll up. Bring the soles of your feet back to bring them in. So now your knees are making the 90-degree angle. If you are seated, come back to Sukhasana. So now we're just gonna kind of stretch our hips just a little bit. If you are sitting, I want you to lift your right ankle your right leg and hold on to your right ankle and cross it to your left knee. If you are seated, you're going to do the same thing. However, you're going to bring that, you're going to cross your left ankle to your left knee, your right ankle to your left knee. However, you're going to bring your left ankle out so that it's in line with your right knee. So you're stacking. You're just going to take a moment, take a deep breath. And breathe into your hip. You should really feel it in your hip and in your hip flexors. You might feel it in your knee and your calves. Inhale, release, and if you're seated, place your foot back firmly on the ground beneath you. This time, we're going to take our left leg and bring it up, holding on to our ankle, crossing that left ankle over to the right knee. And if this feels really good to you, you can kind of take the intensity up by keeping your back straight, really creating this elongated back spine and moving forward with your chest. And when you do that, you will automatically feel that in your hip. If you are seated on the floor, make sure you're bring that right ankle towards the knee. These are like seated pigeons. We're getting that hip flexor to open. Take a deep inhale, release your left leg. If you are seated, your left leg, and bring the soles of, you are seated, I want you to come up on your tiptoes and relax and draw your heels down to the floor. So attempt to rise on your toes while maintaining that same position in your chair. And it could be a half an inch, it could be a centimeter. Just opening up the sole of your foot and release both feet so that your heels are now firmly planted on the ground. Take a moment to be still. Feel your breath. And send gratitude out into the universe. Maybe you're grateful for your body and its ability to move. Be grateful for this moment. Grateful for something that has occurred this week. Grateful for something that wonderful that will occur. Something that will facilitate your growth and your love. Take a deep inhale. Open your eyes, extend your arms out to a T, up to Urdhvastasana, palms come together to Anjali Mudra. Say something really wonderful to yourself. We like to call them I am statements. Take a moment to appreciate you for who you are, exactly for who you are. Thank you for allowing me to guide you. Namaste.
Okay, thank you, Andy. And so I want to
Thank
say
you.
hello to a few more people that came here. Oh, actually, I see now. Flip back. My homie, Tyrone. How you doing today, man? Can you hear me? Good to see you, bro. Thanks for
I
hanging
hear
out.
you. I'm pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the invite.
Yes, sir. So yeah. Okay, cool. So now I got a little bit of music in my mind, and yeah, I'm gonna play for a few. I'm actually going to. So I was thinking about we're gonna go into like kind of, I guess you could say, like a bit of like a meditative piano kind of thing. I mean, I guess that's kind of like my default by nature. But I was thinking about what tune I wanted to kind of get down on. And this past week in the serenade, I played uh I played two tunes that I think I'm gonna combine together now. One was an original arrangement of a song that I'm calling 1%, because it's from Maya Angelou's 1% talk that she had. And it was about, the topic was like, what if 1% of people did 1% of things differently? And she was just talking about essentially like the butterfly effect, which is how much of an effect it have, on the whole world. And so I've written a piano piece around it, and then I flowed into Jill Scott's Golden and kind of put like a little bit of a spin on it. So yeah, I'm just gonna play for a little bit, and so I hope that you enjoy this. All right, all right. So I hope that you all could appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks so much. So much for the love. Thank you for the love. Yeah, that was really fun. So I want to tell you all real quick, and I'm just going to unmute you just for everybody for a second, because I also want to say hello. I see that Leslie is back. Hello. So if I could, I guess I can't. So Leslie, if you can hear me, I just want to say hello to you. Thank you so much for hanging out. And so we're having a good time. So on that topic, as I was thinking about just kind of this experience today, one of the things that came to mind for me was this concept of interoception. And so I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term, and if you have heard it. If you haven't, we're going to actually chop it up about it in a few minutes. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of just share a little bit of information about it. You know, right now we're in what I consider like the, sorry about that. Right now, I consider this like the self-care portion of this experience. So I'm just going to share some thoughts, and I'm going to share my screen. And so you're going to see exactly like where I'm pulling from. And this was from my my personal self-care journey that I've been on since December of 2019. And one of the things that I've been doing is sharing my experiences. And so here we go. I'm just going to run down some things for a few minutes, and then we're going to chop it up and just kind of see like, how does this apply to you? And what do you feel? What are your thoughts? Okay. Interoception and meditation. And for those that don't know, just a little sidebar. I have been one of the many resources that I study from. I've been studying from the 10% Happier Self-Care course, and that's written by Dan Harris, a news anchor for ABC. So I advise you definitely check it out if you get a chance. You can download it on Android, iOS, and it's really, really good. It's jam-packed with courses from different contributors, different people that are into meditation, that kind of thing. And it's about every subject under the sun. They've got good practices. In fact, one of the things that I'm looking to do is to be a contributor musically there. So anyway, interoception and meditation. Interoception is a sense that provides information about the internal condition of our body, how our body is feeling on the inside. Interoception allows us to experience many body sensations, such as a growling stomach, dry mouth, tense muscles, or racing heart. When I first grabbed this definition, I was actually looking up interoception in children, because of the fact that when you realize what interoception is, it's so basic to who we are that, and I know this is probably going to spark some conversation, afterwards, because this would be really good. It's one of the deepest things that we are either trying to develop as parents in our children, or it's the biggest thing that we missed. And I say that because once you think about interoception and you realize what it is, you realize that like the way that you wind up dealing with the world is based off of how you deal with yourself. And so if you aren't even aware of what you're dealing with or like how to deal with it, then, you in turn can't deal with others in a good way. So knowing what's going on with you, that this is all we're talking about is self-awareness. Interoception, another name for that would just really be self-awareness. So interoception is a sense that provides information about the internal condition of our body, how our body is feeling on the inside. Interoception also allows us to experience many body sensations, such as a growling stomach, dry mouth, tense muscles, or racing heart. Interoception is contemporarily defined as the sense of the internal state of the body. So this is like a little bit more of a complex definition. This can be both conscious and non-conscious. It encompasses the brain's process of integrating signals relayed from the body into specific subregions like the brainstem, thalamus, insula, somatosensory, and anterior cingulate cortex, allowing for a nuanced representation of the physiological state of the body. This is important for maintaining homeostatic conditions in the body and potentially aiding in self-awareness. Okay, so the reason why I put this here, I think that this is, even though it's to the point and I understand it, I like things more so in a little bit more layman's terms. So I guess I also put that there as a contrast to the last definition, which was a bit more straightforward. One other way to really understand this, I find, is I started thinking about when you have, say, like a building that is, I don't know, it could be somewhere like a Walmart or something, just some like large building. And so you have this particular building, and then you have the ability for this building, it's got a, it's covering a big area. Now, inside some control room, some office somewhere, there's a guy or a woman that is the security person, and they're basically monitoring this whole building, but they're doing it from a space that's way smaller than the entire building. They got their screens and everything. They could see everything that's going on in every part of this building, and even from many places past the building, because they got to survey like the premises around the building. So this whole thing is being monitored from a very small space, and that's one way that I found a good way to understand this. It's like your brain, and this particular aspect of interoception is about like that control room, figuring out what's going on with the entire building, or what have you. So that's one other way that I learned to kind of get that. All right, next up, so this is the beautiful part right here. Feel in, feel out, feel rest. These are 3 ways you can think about your body and the different things that you're experiencing. So when you locate a feeling or emotion internally and it's correlating manifestation in the body, then you're going to label that as feel in. When you locate a feeling or emotion internally, you lay that as feel in. When you notice a feeling generated by a physical sensation, like something outward, like pain or discomfort, hot or cold temperatures, external sounds or smell, labeling that as feel out. And then when you're completely neutral and aren't being affected by any internal or external sensations, you're at ease. We're labeling that as feel rest. So what is this? How do you apply this? This is literally like in the midst of your quiet time or your meditation, or just time to yourself. You could even be just driving in a car and just kind of feeling this and thinking this. It's literally a way of being yourself and almost like stepping outside of yourself to like examine yourself, to like look at yourself and feel, what you're experiencing without just being caught up in what you're experiencing. When you are completely neutral, next one, noting and labeling our emotions decreases our stress response and is a form of emotional regulation visible in the brain. Noting and labeling our emotion decreases our stress response. It's crazy because literally just being able to stop, noting is literally just taking note of something and just saying, okay, so this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. But taking the time to notice that and then to give it a particular label, it automatically decreases your stress because you're not worried about what it is you're dealing with. Like you're honing in on it a bit more. So it naturally just decreases your stress. And it's a form of emotional regulation that is visible in that control system. So it's like the body relaying back to the security guard what's going on and everybody being on the same page and that like easing the situation. So instead of saying I am blank, so fill in the blank there, right? Now, this is one of those things where I wouldn't say like this is something you have to apply, like, or applies all the time, every time. Like sometimes you can say certain statements and they don't really affect you in a negative way. Sometimes they do. So this is just like a tool in a toolbox. So I'll start this off by saying sometimes instead of saying I am blank, and you fill in your emotion, saying I feel blank helps to disassociate oneself, or not identify as the emotion itself. That just helps you to is literally what I call the wedge. Is just enough to be able to say, okay, I don't have to be like wrapped up and overtaken by this. I can take note of it and say, this is what I feel. Then follow this statement with identifying if and where it actually manifests in the body. You know, so it's just a way of taking note. This is the last piece that I actually have on this topic. So what I'll do, and then we'll open it up for just some fun discussion and reflection on it. It's just kind of wrap it up by saying, like, you know, first of all, interoception is probably one of the newest words that I have in my vocabulary, like this year, and it's one of my favorite words at this point. And it's just because even in just thinking of the name and remembering what the definition of it is, it literally is immediately doing what it's about, which is like taking a second to take inventory. Taking a second to take inventory and to just like feel what I'm feeling, experience what I'm experiencing, while being able to have a healthy sense of detachment in order to move through in a good way. So yeah, that's interoception. And so now, for this last bit of time, we just gonna chop it up. We're gonna chop it up about this topic. And really this is just about, like, you know, interoception. What is it to you? Have you ever heard of it before? Have you not? If you have, how have you applied it? And yeah, just what are your thoughts in relationship to this? So what I'll do is there's a couple ways we can do this. I will first kind of just start off by saying, anybody who wants to just unmute their mic and just kind of you know, say your piece as far as like, how does this relate to you? What do you think about this? You can, and then we'll just kind of flow from there. So, and what I can do is what I like to do is, if nobody feels like just move in that direction, I'll do it this way. I'll say, like, who was, with this topic here, whose first time is it? And if you're not showing your picture, then just put something in the chat. You could just actually talk in the chat or put a thumbs up. So whose first time? Well, who's where this was your first time hearing the word interoception? Okay, great. The funny part about it is, when I first read the word, I thought it was like interception, you know, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know what that is. So interoception. So I'm curious, just
Okay, I'll speak up.
Sweet.
Okay, so for me, definitely, this is my first time hearing of the word. But as you were reading the definition, I thought, oh, as I've gotten older, I've kind of learned to do that. And I didn't know there was an actual word to describe what I was doing.
Right.
And so this, for you as a male, this, you may not relate, but as an older female, some of us have hot flashes. And so I have hot flashes, and what I realized is, once I realized that if I learn how to like take note, I guess, and realize that one is about to come on, especially if I'm at work, right. If I just get up and then walk and maybe drink a glass of water or something, yeah. Then I won't be so stressed out. Whereas when they first started happening, I'd be getting all stressed out, and then I'd make myself get even hotter and more stressed out, right. Because I wasn't just recognizing that, okay, this is what's happening. Right. I was like, oh, what's happening? So I really like knowing that there's a word for this now.
I'm gonna tell you something, Sherry. First of all, thank you. Thank you. As they did you all see? I don't know if you all saw that video came out a couple years of the guy who was out. They were out on the beach or the park or something. The guy started dancing on the hill, and before you knew it, in the rest of the video, everybody started dancing on the hill. So I'm always appreciative for the first person that decides to. So yeah, thank you, Sherry. Okay. I was getting ready to say I couldn't relate to you more, but I had to first start by saying, okay, in some regards, I have so much empathy for women, because I'm gonna be honest with you, like if we had to deal with half the stuff you all dealt with, like that's why I'm like this when it comes to women. I'm like, oh hell, because y'all deal with something. I know we have our things too, but you all deal with some significant things, and honestly, it takes a lot. But that was very significant what you said, because again, it's so subtle and so small, but it makes all the world of a difference. And so, just being able to check in and just say, okay, don't have to go straight to this rat. Let me step back from this. Like it's so helpful. So I can understand, how you how that actually worked for you. And the funny thing is, one other place that you made me think about as I was listening to you was, I've learned, like, how you have, if you're caught up in an activity, like you can be caught up in working in front of a computer. You can be caught up doing something so long that like you just zone out of your body, and like the whole time your back is screaming at you, or the whole time your stomach is screaming at you, or the whole time like your neck is screaming, or your eyes are screaming at you. And that's another little place that I realized in my own personal life, this interoception deal, because I was just like, okay, I need to pay more attention. Like it's cool to be wrapped up in things, but at the same time, listening to your body is important. It's a small but huge thing. So I would say between that and then just the fact that, like you said, having now a label to put on it, you literally just took it to the next level, because you already identified it and was putting it into practice. But now having the name, now what it does for your brain is, with neurological neural pathways, you're drawing more connections to the same thing, which means now you're going to find that you're even more easily able to do a scan and to kind of get yourself where you need to be, or self-care in the way that you need to, just because literally now, in addition to doing it, you got a label for it. So now you have multiple things you're thinking about when, so small but huge, small but absolutely huge. Oh, Leslie raised, okay. So Leslie approved. Appreciate you, Leslie. Yeah, so anybody else, interoception, what are your thoughts? How does it relate to you, or what do you think about with regard to that topic? And don't all Zoom at once.
I unmute. So it's not something that I'm unfamiliar with. It's one of the things why yoga is so amazing, because yoga does help with that interoception. It helps with proprioception. So yoga is, one of the practices is this awareness, this connectivity to
Right.
your mind, to your body, and your spirit. And so that is what, when we think about interoception, that connectedness to our feeling, even as we were going through some of the movements today, kind of bringing awareness to your breath, how you're feeling, the sensations, and being open to whatever that is, without judgment, right? So we've been taking it to the next step, because there may be times where you are doing something, like for example, there are times when I might be in my practice and one day my shoulder feels one way and the next day my shoulder feels another, right? So, and I know how I'm feeling, and so then being able to assess how I feel about the fact that my shoulder feels weird and I should be able to do this particular pose with ease, right? So yeah, I think it is a really great interoception is so important for us, for the self-awareness, self-regulation, for emotional intelligence, And so I think a lot of times we do it, it's just, you may not necessarily have that clinical name placed on it.
Right.
But I think we are able, you know, when we engage in activities like we're doing right now, this is an act of being able to bring awareness to our feelings, even in the moment of this. So
I definitely agree with that. Thank you for that. It's funny because as I was putting up some information about 5M today, the way that I described it was self-reflection, self-awareness, care, you know, is literally just that. And so it's funny just how it's something as simple as focusing on focusing literally changes everything. One of the other things I'll say, and I think this also might even kind of take us some places too, at least in thought, is that one other place where I've been learning this like every day is that I literally feel different every single day because my whole social life has changed. So every day there's a difference in my feeling than normal because like, and this is for everybody, like our whole patterns have changed, right? Literally our steps have literally changed. So that means that, you know, something as simple like like I was used to say on Thursday nights, having a particular kind of social connection and that being a part of my routine. So now naturally, even though I'm into a new routine, there's a particular feeling I feel every Thursday night, whether I'm thinking about it consciously or not. I just kind of, something happens because a connection that I was used to is just not, it's not there anymore. And so what I found is that by being able to just be aware of like, why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling? Because like sometimes it's just kind of like, I can't put my finger on it, but something doesn't feel right, or I don't feel like myself, or something doesn't feel right. And I've realized now, like, this is a way to kind of like really check in with this. And to be honest, this is now something that we're doing. I mean, it's useful and helpful every single day and every minute of every day because we're thinking about life differently. So that's altering all of our feelings, even as we're adjusting, even as we're accepting, even as we've gotten into new routines, it's still taking a complete flip. And emotionally, it's a different kind of thing. And so that's another place where I found this to be useful because sometimes I'll just go like, what's going on? Or sometimes I'll go like, wow, I feel really happy right now. Why do I feel happy? And then I'm like, oh, because I don't want to, that's the other thing too about this. I don't want to make this like, I like when it comes to psychology, there's always the two sides to the coin. So I don't want to make this just about the negative. Like this is the same thing I experienced too in the positive. Like, I'm like, wow, why do I feel the way? And I'm like, oh, that's because, you know, you took particular steps to create a social kind of thing. You feel that connectivity right now with people and wow. And this is different because I'm not used to feeling this level of excitement sitting in front of a computer screen, you know? So it's just, yeah.
That someone that triggers go both ways. And they can, if we allow them to, right? We often we give triggers like a pejorative context.
Yeah.
When we say, oh, that triggered me, right? We think of a trigger and kind of all that stuff. But really, honestly, you can have something that triggers joy and excitement and admiration and love and all those things, those feelings. And so then that's a good thing. I mean, we're still putting judgment on it, but you know, triggers go both ways.
They do. It's like I learned about the word consequences. I remember, you know, years ago, because when I was growing up, anytime I was told I was going to get consequences, they were negative consequences. So,
Right,
so, you know, I learned to automatically associate the word consequences with negativity. And so now in my adult life, I'm learning what you just said, which is there are so many things like that, you know, due to blazing that same neural pathway over and over and over and over and over, even when we just hear the word, you know, we're used to a particular kind of association. So that's why this is so good. Because again, it's really just a matter of like, you don't know what you don't know, you know, and the first key to like moving forward in any way is first like literally just awareness of what you're dealing with, you know, what it is you're putting your fingers on, what are you talking about, what are you feeling, what are you expressing, why, you know. asking the question. So that's why we're here, you know, to have fun, just chopping it up on this tip. So we're rounding out the experience now, and I want to kind of, you know, leave it open for if anybody has any kind of final thoughts. Now, and this doesn't have to relate at all to interoception, because that's the other part about this too. Everything that we're dealing with has to do with like not just the micro of honing in on a particular thing, but the macro of life in general. So yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's well. If anybody has anything to say that's not related to the topic and they're just feeling it. And yeah, just kind of ending on that tip. So I'm gonna actually,
Well,
yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
so I'm sorry. I just realized that I have to, because of other people, I guess, working from home or being more isolated, then when they come to work, or other people that I know that are isolated and they call me,
Right.
I'm having to learn how to like manage the time that I talk to them or that I let them talk to me. Because then what happens is I ended up staying at work too late on Friday. And the security guard kind of was like, "You still here?" Because I had talked to a friend on the phone, and then another lady who usually doesn't come to work.
Right.
It was like her social time, and she was catching up with me. And I'm like, and
Right.
then they were gone, and I'm still there trying to finish something because I have deadlines.
Right.
So I don't know. Do you have any suggestions, or what do you think?
Well, the very first suggestion right off the bat is no judgment. That's the first thing, and I can't overstate that. Literally, no judgment of yourself around it. No judgment, no judgment, no judgment. And then secondly, after no judgment and being easy on yourself, as soon as you said that, I was like, wow, like you just opened up a whole nother side of my brain, because I've been talking about the thing, and even sharing about that and just thinking about that. During this time, everything is changing. So even down to communication, how we communicate, when and how long and how much. And there's a lot of access too that people have to us in different ways, some which we're having to allow them to access because we got to change around the whole formula. And then in other ways, it's just there because of technology. And I'm going to ask you a question too, just also so I can make sure I'm not like all over the place. Would you say that you're wondering how actually to manage that as far as your choices, how much time you're spending doing, you know, what you're doing? Or would you say your question is more so, how do you communicate with other people? Like as you're trying, you know, what would you say is more so you're trying to hone in on?
I guess I'm trying to figure out, well, maybe like how to let that person know, like the person on the phone. I hadn't talked to her in a long time.
Right.
And she kind of like likes to go into detail. So even though I told her I was at work,
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, okay, I'll let you go." And then 15, 20 more minutes.
Right.
So I was trying not to be rude.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
not sure if I'm posing the question
Oh,
right.
you are. You just nailed it for me. You just nailed it.
You're set a healthy boundary for yourself, while also maybe not. And so the thing is that even, you know, and I've done it before, like, you know, rude is, I think what Erin said is this, you know, you are putting that judgment on yourself, because honestly, you want to go and do your work, and the concern is that someone from outside is thinking, oh, then that might be rude, when that's not your intention. And I think, you know, boundaries are made for you, and they can be set in a loving way. And then you can take the position of freedom so that you know your intent is in love. And you can say that in love. You can say, you know what? I so love talking to you. I do enjoy when we catch up, right? Give that to the person. Say, I really do. However, right now I have some things that I have to take care of. And so maybe, you know, when I get home, maybe tomorrow, if you're available, I'll give you a call back. Sometimes with people, you know, if you want to, right, you can set up that plan. But then also not feeling bad because, you know, you love your friend, you know, she's in need. Your intent was not to be rude and to blow her off. But in this moment, you needed something for yourself so you could feel good also, because you don't want to stay at work all night when everybody else is at home. So, right, you're doing this for yourself, and it's not rude to take care of yourself. It's not rude to feel like you need to tell someone, well, you know, this isn't really the time that I have to allocate to X, Y, and Z right now, because you're taking care of yourself, right? And I think a lot of times, so many of that, I understand it goes into like how we're groomed as society, and what we should be doing, and what, you know, and this person might be the other. At the end of the day, you have to take care of you, and it is okay to put what your need in front, and you can do it in a really loving way, so that it doesn't, so it actually may even strengthen the relationship that you have with them. I think
I appreciate that. Those words that you said at the front, like, and I think maybe being an accountant or something, I don't have a lot of the nice words that you just described. So I'm gonna like actually write those down to remind myself to say those, which is silly that I have to do that, but
oh, not at all.
And I used to be an auditor for like 30 years, so I'm used to like getting to the point.
This is what it is. And so then of course when someone comes in who's a friend, you know, you're not doing that, but at the same time you have this other expectation over here with these rules and these regulations that don't really have the humanity in them. And it's like, all right, so no, I mean, but it's true, right? It's like
right.
You don't really have that, but it's okay for you to say, you know what, I love you, I want to talk to you, I love when we talk, it really makes me laugh, or whatever, however, you know, however that relationship makes you feel. Now, if it don't make you feel that way, maybe don't say
it. But no, that's good. Thanks, guys.
It's always something, there's a reason why you guys are interacting. So maybe there is something that you really do enjoy, even if it's, you know, I enjoy your ability to be able to express, and you feel like I'm a safe place that you can, you know, because she does. If she's talking to you, she's gonna keep talking to you. You're holding that space for her, which is really beautiful, and she needs that. Obviously something is going on where she needs you to hold that space, but sometimes we can't always hold the space in that moment. And you can say that, I can hold the space, but I can't hold it right now in this moment. Give me a little bit so I can handle what I need to handle over here so that I feel good.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. And so one of the things that I learned was, you know, I'm a person that I can talk, as they say, I can go. But I started noticing though that depending on who I was talking to, some people will, like you said, and you mentioned it when you first said the example, some people will jump into a conversation and they won't check in with you to actually see if it's a good time, or see if like you have the ability for them to pour out everything on you. You know, there's many times where I talk on the phone where I'll have that experience, you know, and I'll think about it like, wow, this person didn't even ask, hey, is this a good time? You know, and I was like, and they didn't mean any harm. And even in the same way that you mentioned, they didn't mean any harm. It was just that they thought it was okay. But then I started realizing like, oh, wait a minute. And I'm muting you just so, but I was like, wait a minute. If I don't actually share with this person that I'm not having the same experience that they're having, then they'll never know, actually. So I'm not even giving them the ability to be mindful. I can already see that they are unaware, right? They're unaware just by the fact that they're doing something, and they can't tell by my body language. They can't tell by my silence. They can't tell by any of these things that I'm experiencing it, you know, in a different way. And so I started realizing like, oh, So if I'm waiting for them to recognize it, then I'm never going to have the experience that I need to have in this for it to be a good experience for both of us. I need to allow them their ability to know so that they can know how I feel. And then we could be mindful of each other, because you're totally being mindful of. That was the thing that I realized. Like I'm totally just catering to them. And sometimes it's at my own expense. And when we walk away from the conversation, I'm the only one that feels like I didn't have a satisfying, experience. So I found that the best thing that I could do, even in the way that Andy was sharing, the best thing that I can do is actually, in a polite and in a good way, express to the person, hey, I don't mean to cut you off, but I can't actually talk for too long, or right now is actually not a good time, or whatever else I need, because then that allows, what I found is I get more positive responses out of that than anything, because people appreciate, like, oh, he's being honest upfront and he's being, positive about it. The one thing that most people are afraid of, and I used to be afraid of this, is not being able to control the outcome, not wanting to make a person feel bad, not doing these things. But I started realizing, and I realized this a long time ago, when people would ask me my opinion about certain things, and because I didn't want to hurt their feelings, I might tell them something or not say something. But then I realized, like, wait a minute, if this person is really asking me for help, or in this situation, if this person really does care, like they do generally care about me, then I actually need to be more verbal and be okay with that, because of the fact that if they care about me, then they will hear me. They will hear me. They'll understand. They won't go off the deep end. And even if we do have a misunderstanding, we should have a trusting enough relationship where we can work it out. I realized, though, I had to be more confident in myself and in knowing that it would be all right in order to do that, So yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. And the thing is, you'll find that the best thing that you're able to do is to say something, because then more than likely she'll turn around and go like, oh wow, like I didn't, and then she'll be more mindful of you, which will allow you to have a much, much better experience. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you, Andy, for your thoughts on that. Very, very helpful. And so, and everybody who's out there in Facebook, good old Facebook land, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we'll close out this experience. I just want to say thanks to everybody collectively. And then also, this will be posted in the 5M Facebook group for further viewing and that kind of thing. And yeah, we're just going to have some fun on that tip. So on the way out, one of the things I want to start doing, we can start today, it's just a final 5 breaths for 5 seconds, inhaling and exhaling. So if we could just take a moment to do that. I'm going to use my hand to count. In the future, I'm actually going to have a musical track that actually works. But anyway, for right now, take a deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. 2 more. Deep breath in and out. Final breath in and out. And on that tip, to everyone, I say peace, be well, salud.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Thanks, Andy. All right. See you guys.
Take care.